Go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Diablo Valley Mac Users Group meeting that we have every week. Today is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. And it feels over here like in
Sorry, that was my mistake. I just muted you by accident, Bruce.
Bruce, you gotta unmute
Bruce, you're
yourself.
muted.
we'll start with news. Um, I have a few news items. Then we'll have some videos to look at. I have four. I try to be as concise and as short as possible. Uh, just to let you know, the links for the videos and news have been uploaded to the BBS DVMUG BBS. If you have your user ID and passwords, log in there. Look up the email from me about 3 hours ago, and you can click on that and open one of the attachments to read about whichever you want to read about. And if you don't have one of those things, I always said, well, get a hold of John and Ann, and they'll help you out. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there to be looked at. No, I encourage everybody to get one of those things. John's only also gonna get the links and put them in the chat so you can look in the Zoom chat and have the same look at the same thing instead of going to the BBS. Also, this is being recorded, so let's stick to the subject. And I hope I'll make it through this. I earlier told everyone I'm under the I have the flu, so I might be. I hope I'm not going to be coughing or gagging or anything. But let's go on and let's see what the news is all about. So, like I always said, or say, is to update. Make sure you update. There are updates out all the time, especially nowadays, and I have no idea what's going on. But there's updates left and right nowadays. So please update to insulate yourself from the bad people out there. Let's go on to the news, and here's one from Apple Insider. Rumored that iOS 19 and Mac OS 16 redesign and changes will be polarizing. In other words, everything is being changed. They said we are going to complain and we are going to adapt and everything's going to be okay. But again, there is the link on the bottom. You can click on that or in the chat or the BBS and read all about this. There is quite a change coming when this takes place. We're gonna have to learn all over again. But anyway, this is not news, so we're gonna be fine. Any comments regarding this? I just before anybody else starts, I got this thing against Apple. Is every time I learned, I get to the point where I think I know everything, things change. Well, here we go again. They are going to change. So that's my opinion. Anybody else has got anything to say?
It's like the magnetic North Pole. It's changing. Get used to it.
Don't you know newer is always better?
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see what's going to happen. So here's the next one. This is from Tidbits. This is regarding the AI that Apple has missed And there are some calls out there for Tim Cook to retire and stand down and all kinds of stuff. But as you can see, is it's just because they missed this, he is not going anywhere because according to excuse me, according to that first article there, he's done more for Apple than anybody else. He is responsible for bringing Apple to a $3 trillion company. Now, the link on the bottom, and before I explain that, that's not the only thing he's done. He's brought other stuff into Apple and he had to fight all kinds of other stuff. And they said he's not going anywhere. But the link on the bottom is from Macworld. They have a totally different opinion. Excuse me. It's a good read. I encourage everybody to go ahead and look at both links. It gives a good story regarding to the picture that Apple is painting for us. Any comments on that one? Again, for example, have to agree is with Macworld is that Siri is way behind and they need to do something. Later on, I think there is a piece of information in there where they assign somebody to jump on it and bring Siri up to date. So if anybody
They did
no
make a
more
big
comment,
move. The big move in the news was the head of Vision Pro is now the head of Siri. So that means they're putting emphasis on it. They're paying attention to it. So, they're focusing on that now. It's like, not that he knows anything about Apple. He headed a big, thing at Vision Pro. So,
well, it's not. I mean, I don't know if he needs to know anything, but somebody needs to push to.
Well, Siri has always sucked from right back in the beginning where they're proclaiming it as this amazing advancement. I'm talking about way back in the Steve Jobs days, and it kind of never moved forward a whole lot, while other platforms were definitely moving forward. And so I wouldn't blame it, say it's a new problem that's all on Tim Cook. Part of it is probably hubris on Apple's part because they know they've got us captivated by the ecosystem, by I mean, I would think about trying an Android, a Pixel phone, because from what I understand, the digital assistant on Android is much better, much smarter, um, uses, it uses Google intelligence. Um, but um, but I love my ecosystem of my Mac and my iPhone and my Apple Watch and my iPad. And so I think a lot of this might be overbaked because we're not going anywhere. Where are we going to go? Become Windows users? I don't think so. And so I'm putting in the chat a link to. I've talked about this podcast before, the Hard Fork podcast from the New York Times. It's two technology journalists who it's very entertaining. They're very funny. And that particular episode is especially interesting. And the first segment is all about, they call it Apple's Siri Us problem. Get it? Siri Us problem. And it's very interesting where they go deep on what they think is going on. And it's a really good listen. And then he goes on to talk about Starlink and how basically Starlink is capturing the world. It's like, and then lastly, talking about is AI making us dumber. It's a really good episode. I highly recommend it, especially that first segment about Apple and the Siri problem. These guys are
Say
very
what,
entertaining, very
say,
funny.
I think
say what it is again.
I think
Art,
I'd go back to my two-way Dick Tracy wrist radio.
I put in the chat. I put the link to the episode in the chat, but it's the Hard Fork podcast is what it's called. Hard Fork, um, which I guess is a tech term, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you, and but they just need to they need they need to do something. They need to bring it up to speed. In other words, I can if Google can spit out all kinds of stuff by just typing a couple of letters in and open stuff, it just needs they just need to push into this. Not that I'm bolting or anything, but you know, I mean, I expect a little more from the personal assistant.
So it's interesting in that discussion on Hard Fork. One of the things they're talking about is how some basic Siri functions like leaving, and I think this came up in our meeting last week, or maybe the week before. Maybe it was Jan who brought it up, where getting unreliable alarms where it might or might not go off. They're talking about that specifically and how it's lost some direct functions because it's now running through AI, and the AI might or might not get it right when you set a reminder for yourself. Or I don't have a lot of experience doing that on Siri, but I use Alexa for that all the time, and it's amazingly good at basic stuff like reminders, alarms. I set reminders for myself all the time. Eventually, I think I'm going to be a hollow shell of an old elderly guy with an Alexa core in my center that's running the show.
Are you gonna pony up for Alexa Plus? They're gonna have a paid like an extra Alexa. They're making a new version called Alexa Plus, I think. Where they're gonna charge like $20 a month or something.
Nah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you hear that story about
I heard that there's a whole new version coming. I hadn't heard that there's going to be a
everything's a
premium
plus
version.
now. Everything wants to add on plus, Apple TV Plus, Alexa Plus, whatever everything wants to charge. Everybody wants to charge money for this stuff.
Well, we'll see. Probably not. I mean, thing is, paying for Alexa AI, why would you do that when you've got ChatGPT and Perplexity and Google, which is already doing it really well?
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Yeah, okay. That's part of the problem with with Siri is that they talk about in that podcast is why would you ask Siri to do this, ask those questions when they've already got the ChatGPT app? Anyway, I'm going on too long.
That's the news. Let's move on.
We managed to get through all these decades without this stuff.
Right. Apple's only doing it because everybody else is doing it. They feel they have to do it.
Well, okay, if there's no other discussion here, let's move on to the next one. Next one is regarding security. So here, this is from Macworld, and it's indicating that Apple will soon encrypt iPhone to Android messages just like an iMessage. What they're going on about over here is the latest RCS, which is Android standard, includes E2 EEE based on the messaging layer security protocol. E2 EE means encrypted from one person to the next encrypted. What that is, there is two different type. What really was there before is end-to-end encryption. Now, end-to-end encryption is like from me to Kenji. If I send the message, it is encrypted on my device and it's decrypted by his when he receives it. That's all well and good, except that that message it has to go through some telephone company out there someplace, and they sometimes have the keys to the encryption data. And there is a possibility that they might, under circumstances, give that out, and therefore is not as secure because it would be open to everybody. Now, end to end plus that other E afterwards, which stand, I mean, after one is the encryption. So it's end-to-end encryption. Now this is well, it's encrypted totally. It's encrypted from one person to the next, and nobody knows what the key is, except that the two people or the two devices that you're communicating with. What happens here is that nobody is able to find out what the message is all about. And they give examples of, what is it? WhatsApp is one of them. I guess, Signal is another. There is another one where nobody's able to get into it. And if you think about what's just happening in the whole world, is England is insisting on Apple to provide them with a backdoor so they can get in and they can look at your stuff. These encryption protocol is set so they cannot get a key to it. Nobody knows what the key is. Not even the people that are using the app. It just, when it's sent, it's encrypted, and when it's received on the other end is encrypted, and it's decrypted over there, and no one in between knows what it is. So I think this is what the whole world's all about, open arms all about, because they're not able to get into these apps. And one of them is iMessage, which we use on iPhones. So, again, the link underneath there is a lengthy one, but it's worth reading and rereading it because the two are so similar that it's almost there is no difference, but there really is a big difference. On one, there is a possibility that somebody can get in. On the other one, they cannot. So Apple is about to make that happen between Android and iPhones. And next, if anybody has anything to add, please go ahead. But I thought I gave a good description there.
Well, what you described wasn't totally true in that, and in the news we're reading right now about the big furor over the Yemen attack that was discussed on Signal and on personal cell phones out in the world. That was end-to-end encrypted, so it couldn't be broken in midstream. But
Right.
the point was that no phone is safe because it's not going to happen to us as mere mortals, but high end, as espionage software, like the stuff made by Israel, can hack the phone. And if you can be in the phone before the encryption, you can still, which is why cell phones are never permitted in secure places. You have to leave your phones outside. So they definitely violated a whole lot of procedures and probably laws too. And
If I had done that when I was in the Navy, I would have gone to Leavenworth. Because the thing is, they're not even supposed to be using personal phones, because everything they do is supposed to be recorded under the Presidential Records Act. And that's why they use personal phones, is to avoid that. But, and there's also ways to set up secure comms, but it only works if you use it.
Okay. Yeah, well, this feature, the end-to-end encryption thing has been used in all over the world, including here. I just read an article in the paper where the actual people that they talked to actually admitted to using this because it's unbreakable and nobody's able to get in, that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Well, Zoom uses end-to-end encryption for the meeting. If you look up in the top right corner, the green shield up there is an indication that it's end-to-end encrypted. If somebody were to dial into the meeting, since a dial-in connection can't be end-to-end encrypted, you'll see that green shield turn to orange. And if you click on it, when it's orange, it'll show you that it's not entirely encrypted.
Okay.
This kind of thing has actually been a hot potato for a very long time. In the late 90s, there was a guy that wrote an open source program called PGP, which stood for Pretty Good Privacy, and it utilized what's known as strong encryption. And it was basically, under normal circumstances, unbreakable. And the US government actually tried to consider it a munition to make it so that he couldn't sell it anywhere outside the US. And it was in court for years and years and years. I think he did eventually win. But, there's been a lot of cases. You guys might remember that shooting that happened down in Southern California, and the government wanted Apple to crack the encryption on one of their iPhones that belonged to one of the perpetrators, and Apple refused to do it. And this situation with the UK, that could be bad, because the thing about this kind of thing is, if there's one way to get in to circumvent the security, then it's no longer secure.
Right.
Because if one person can get in, then somebody else can get in.
Yep.
I mean, that's what spies do for a living. They steal secrets, things like encryption keys. And, those of you that study this sort of thing, one of the big reasons that the British did as well as they did during World War II is because the Germans had this real fancy encryption machine called Enigma. And one of their scientists figured out how to crack it. So they knew what the Germans were planning, before it even happened.
I thought they captured one is how they got it.
They captured one, but they also had to figure out how to make it work.
Right.
Yeah, I think they got it off of a U-boat that they captured or something.
Right.
And the Germans didn't know they had got it. And that actually was key.
There was a play about that called Breaking the Code.
Yeah.
Anyway,
interesting stuff.
Yep.
I just said interesting stuff.
There's some more stuff that Apple has to deal with. And next one is Apple loses antitrust in Germany. Apple has lost And because it dominates the whole market and it's now staring down antitrust penalties in the country as of everything else it faces in the European Union. The European Union is just going weird, and now Apple's got to deal with that. So there is another read,
Wait,
and
wait,
it's a good
excuse
read,
me.
but
Excuse me, did you say that in Germany, Apple is bigger than, say, Windows?
oh no, I didn't say that. They lost an antitrust suit in Germany saying that the German government declared Apple a monopoly or something like that and dominating the market.
In
And
what?
they don't like that.
In phones?
I believe it's phones.
Huh.
Smartphone market, yes.
I sometimes wonder what happened to the build a better mousetrap philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about the Windows monopoly?
They build a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as winning this case, they're losing the case.
You know, along the same story here, I read another thing on the internet where they noticed, the researchers noticed that before all these viruses and stuff they were aimed at Microsoft operating system are now turning over to Apple. They're developing stuff to attack Apple users.
Get
So
your
there's some.
McAfee.
I'm sorry.
Get your McAfee.
Yeah, Mr. McAfee. That's right. So enough of.
Bring out Virex. That'll fix it.
Got to run something nowadays, but I still don't feel like if you don't click on it and say yes, you're kind of safe. But that's a touch and go situation. So, well, enough of gloomy news, and let's move on to the videos and have Gary. This is all about PDFs. I've had to deal with PDFs a lot lately and had to sign them and all kinds of stuff. And this is all about how to do that and how to make it easy for you. So this is how to turn almost anything into a PDF on a Mac. And so here it is. Take a look at that.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you how you can create a PDF from almost anything on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There, you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, let's say you're creating or viewing a document or some content on your Mac, and you want to save it out as a PDF. There are usually a couple of ways to do that, even if it doesn't seem like there's any way at all. For instance, here in Safari, if I see a web page and I want to save this out as a PDF file, I can go to File, and then I can see right here there's an Export as PDF option. So I can simply export this web page as a PDF. But let's say that Export PDF wasn't there. There's another way to do it. If you go to Print, it takes you to the printout controls. You'll usually see a preview here on the left and a lot of different options here. If you look closely at the bottom, you'll see a PDF button. In fact, it's a button with a little menu attached to it. Now you can click the PDF button like that, and then you can save as a PDF. Or you can click this little menu here and you'll see Save as PDF right there as well. And even if you know how to use this already, here's a tip that you may not know. If you go to Open in Preview, it'll create a PDF but not save it. So it takes this page, makes a PDF, and now you can see it's there, but it's not actually saved anywhere. If I click here, you can see it says it's on the desktop, but you can see I have no file here on my desktop. I would actually have to go to File, Save to save this, which is handy because you can actually preview the PDF before you save it. It also allows you, of course, to use Save and then select the location. When you're in preview, you can also go to File and then Share it, say, directly to an email message. So I've got the PDF here, yet I've never actually saved that PDF anywhere on my drive. But why would you want to use Save as PDF or Open in Preview at all when you've got File and then Export as PDF right here? Well, not all apps have that. For instance, if I go to the Reminders app, there is no way to export a reminders list as a PDF. But there is File, Print. And when I go to File, Print, I get this PDF button here or the menu, and I can use Open in Preview, for instance, and I can see here that I get a PDF that shows me my reminder items. So if I need to actually save a reminders list, maybe to back it up or to send it to somebody as a PDF, I could use this option. Another example is Calendar. There is no way to export a calendar to a PDF. There's export, but it exports it in different calendar formats. But if you want a PDF, you can go to Print, and then you get this special menu here that lets you choose the different options for printing. If you continue, it goes to the regular print controls here. And there's that PDF button, and I can click it or use Save as PDF or Open in Preview to see what it looks like before I print it. And in some apps, you get different results depending upon what you use. For instance, if I were to select these two mail messages, and in the Mail app go to File, and there is an Export as PDF option, then I were to save these to the desktop, notice here that I get two files. But if I want these to be together in one PDF, I can simply go to File, Print with them both selected like that. And I can see in the preview here, here's the first email message, here's the second email message. Now using the PDF button, I could go and have these as a single PDF file. Now if we go back to Safari here for a minute, I want to show you another tip and another way that printing works different than exporting as a PDF. Say I'm at an article like this one, and I want to get a good PDF of it. One of the things I might want to do is go to View and then Show Reader. And in Reader View, I can export as PDF and it will look more like this in the original page. But look what happens when I go to Export as PDF. And then I export it to the desktop. And then when I go to File, Print, and then click the PDF button here and save it as a PDF that way. I'll call this 2. Now I'm going to get two separate PDF files. This first one looks like this, and the second one looks like this. So this is just an example of how a native Export as PDF function in an app could produce different results than the Print and then Save as PDF option. Now I know I'm going to get questions about how can you do this on an iPhone or iPad. There typically isn't a way to export as a PDF unless you're working in an app like Word Processor where creating a PDF is a regular goal. But let's say you're in Safari and you want to make this web page into a PDF. Well, you can start with the web page. You can also turn on Reader View. So I'm going to show Reader here. And now let's say I want to make this a PDF. If I go to the Share button here, you can see there's no option here for creating a PDF. You'd think there would be. But there is an option for Print. So let's do that. I'll select Print here. And this takes me to the printer page, just like on the Mac. But there's no PDF button. However, there is that option. So the trick is, with that preview there at the bottom, you want to take two fingers, put them on any one of these pages here, and move them apart, kind of the opposite of pinching. Now you're going to get this preview of what it would look like, kind of like opening it in preview on the Mac that we just did. And now you can tap at the top. There's a little button there to the left of Done. Tap that and you get the option to save to files. You could save this as a PDF. Or you could tap the Share button at the bottom left-hand corner, and then that brings up the menu and you can use Save to Files right there and save it. And there's a second way to do it, whether you are on the web page regularly or looking at it in Reader View. Tap the Share button at the bottom center and then tap the Markup option. And this takes you to the markup tools. In order for you to mark it up, it has to create a PDF version of it first anyway. So now you could tap at the top left there and you could see Save to Files there. Or if you just tap Done, Now it's going to ask you, do you want to save it as a file, as a PDF, or delete it? And since the title of this video is create a PDF from anything, I'm going to show you how to do it even if you're not in an app. Like let's say you just want to take a screenshot of something and create a PDF from it. So here I've got a Finder window open, and let's say I want this to become a PDF. Well, you can do it by using the screenshot tool. So Shift Command 5 is the default unless you've changed it in your system settings. And I'm going to select the window option, but you can do the entire screen or portion. Whichever one you choose, go to Options, and then you can actually use almost any one of these to start creating a PDF. But the quickest way is just select Preview. So this will skip the floating thumbnail, even if you have it selected, and take the screenshot directly to the Preview app. So I'm going to actually click on this window here. It'll take a screenshot of it. It'll open it up in Preview. Now it's a screenshot, so it's an image. You may just want to keep it as an image. An image is usually fine. So you can just save this out, and you can see you can choose like JPEG or HEIC or PNG, but you can also choose PDF. And I could save this out here, and you can see here's the PDF that it's saved out. It's just an image inside of a PDF, so you're not really gaining that much by making a PDF out of it. But if somebody's asked you for a PDF, at least you know you can provide that for them. Creating a PDF of a document is always a good idea as a way to save that document, like a web page for reading later, or saving a document out of an app like Pages or Word, where you might not know if the person you're sending it to has that app. You know they can always open a PDF. So creating a PDF first and sending it to them is a better way of letting somebody else view a document. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
So there we go.
So Jan, did you get all that down in your notebook?
Now
Yeah, you're funny.
I had to learn it. I had to do it the hard way. I recently had to come up with a whole bunch of PDF files of my emails that went from one person to the next, and that kind of stuff that had to be for one reason or another provided to a certain entity to. But anyway, I was able to use the turn to PDF options on there, and it was a lot easier to send PDFs than send a whole bunch of emails and let somebody else look at it or forward a whole bunch of emails. That way they weren't able to do anything with it. They were just able to look at it. That was more my point.
I have a question, Bruce.
Sure.
I do create PDFs from what's on my computer frequently. But I find often they are limited to what is visible on the display. And if you have a PDF or if you have a file that is five pages sequential or something, it'll only get what's showing on the display.
On the screen?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if there's some workaround to get the whole file.
What kind of file did it start out as? Like a word processing file, or what is the original?
I guess I should be paying better attention to.
Well,
What are you talking about, Finder windows?
I might actually be on the internet or something and see something interesting that is more than just one screen in size.
When you go to print, it gives you a preview of what's going to be. So are all the pages there?
When I go to print and the preview, it'll just show
window how many pages it is. Is that all there then?
Where I'm having problems is no, it'll just be what is displayed at the on the display, the top of the whatever it is that I'm looking at.
More information needed.
I have a program called Snagit, which is a cross-platform program that I've had for years. I pay a small amount each year to re-up my, they call it a maintenance agreement, but you actually continue to do new versions. And one of the features of Snagit is it can do scrolling captures. So you can have a window that just goes on, and there's a button where you can press where it'll auto scroll and capture the entire thing, even though it extends outside the field of view.
Interesting.
So basically, it's doing screen grabs.
Yeah, it's a specialized software that I remember using when I was still working, Snagit. But anyway, Peter, the only way I know of is if I save something to like preview or something and then try to print it and then turn it into a PDF. So I don't know about, capturing a screen and not how to deal with that. I didn't have to do that.
Right.
I have to admit. I had to
Yeah.
deal with a whole bunch of emails which were all there, and I could, choose all of them and turn them into PDFs and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, over there. Well, that's it. I didn't open it.
Okay. Well, thanks very much.
I mean, most of what he was just describing would be ways you could save a document that was not just grab a screen grab of a window. I would think most of these things.
Right. I'm going to review his video and I might be able to pick up what I need there.
I think Jan was the only one who was able to get it on the first play. She's our scribe, but she doesn't share her notes.
I can hardly read them at the end.
Well, anyway, just to move on, if there are no more comments.
It was a good one.
Is regarding PDFs again and how to redact, which I can't believe that I had to do certain things, like you don't want to show your email or any information that was in there, and trying to correctly redact the thing was a different story. So here's Gary again to show us how to do that, and with a lot less problems that I had to do. This is how to redact images in PDF using Preview.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you how to redact information in a PDF file using Preview on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There, you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So if you have a PDF, whether it's one that you created or one that somebody gave to you, and you want to redact information in it, meaning you want to get rid of that information, you want to take it out so nobody could actually see it, then there's a tool to do that in the Preview app. The Preview app is the default app for viewing and working with PDFs in Mac OS. So I've got a PDF document here, example.pdf, and if I double click on it, it will open up in Preview. But before I do that, since I'm going to redact information in it and get rid of that information, I want to make a copy of it because I want the original to stick around for my own use. But when I pass it on to somebody else, I want them to not be able to see some things in the document. So I'm going to select it, and I can choose File and then Duplicate or Command D. And this will create another copy of it. And this copy is the one I'm going to use to redact information. So I could rename it as I see fit. I'm going to double click on it and it will open up in Preview. Now that it's in Preview, you could see maybe there's something in it that you want to get rid of. Now the wrong way to go about doing this is to do what you may have done in the past, which is to use the markup tools here and then use a shape, like let's say a rectangle shape, and then take that rectangle and place it over what you want to eliminate. And then it looks like it's gone. If I were to save this and somebody else were to open it up, they would be able to see the information behind it. But actually that information is still there. Even if they don't have a tool that can be used to remove this element, the information is still in the file, so it's not been securely removed. Now this technique still has some good uses. For instance, I could go in here and let's change the color of the rectangle to white and have no border around it. And now it creates this white area here. Now, if I'm printing this document and handing somebody a printout, this works perfectly fine. The information is not going to be in the printout. And another use for this, of course, is that it's not going to use any ink. So if you're printing this for your own use and you want to save printer ink, you can use rectangles like this. I'll even option drag and create another rectangle and get rid of this image to save more ink. And you can continue to use this and do a printout, and it works perfectly well. Except that when you give this PDF file to somebody else, they can get to all this information that's behind these rectangles. So what you want to do instead to really securely get rid of that information, use the Redact tool. Now, just like with putting a shape, you want to use this markup tool. So you want to go into markup, and then instead of choosing a shape, you want to go over to this tool here, which is the Redact tool. You want to select it, and you're going to get a warning when you select it telling you that the content's going to be permanently removed. If you use this tool often, you probably want to check this box and then not have to deal with the warning in the future. Now, when you use the Redact tool, you'll notice the pointer changes to either crosshairs or to a text pointer where I can select text. So if you're over text, obviously it's like this, and you may think that the way it works is you can select text and then maybe hit delete or some other key to redact it. But in fact, it just redacts the text right away. So for instance, I could go ahead here and just select this text, and you can see how it redacts it. It puts a black box with these X's over it right where the text is. I can continue to select more text if I want. So I can keep selecting text like this and just go throughout the document and select more and more. In fact, it's okay to select entire paragraphs. So you can just keep going like this. And I can still move the pointer around like this to adjust. But when I release, it's then going to stick to that. If I move my pointer over it, you can see how it shows me what's underneath. But it shows that it's redacted. The redaction isn't going to actually happen until you save. And in the meantime, you could select and unredact certain things if you want. And the undo feature works with this as well. So if I do Command Z here, you can see how it undoes the last thing I did. Command Z undoes the thing before that, etc. Now, a useful tip here is you can use edit and then find with this, and it will work. I can actually search for something like this, and you can see it's going to show me where that is. And it's not going to affect redacting, but it does help me find things. So now on top of that, I can redact as much as I want. You can see the search remains there. So I can keep going with the redaction. Now, what about when the cursor is a crosshairs like this? Well, that could be used to redact an area. It's very useful for images. So here we've got an image, and I can select an area of that image like this and redact it. I can even select another area and redact that as well. I can also just redact over an entire larger area like this. As long as the redaction tool is selected and I see a crosshairs here, I can redact sections. And that's true for text as well. So notice here, as I move the pointer over the text in between lines, it changes to little crosshairs there. So I can drag a rectangle like that over an area and it'll redact the text under it. Notice that I can move over these areas and see what's underneath if I want. I could even drag these areas around to adjust them and drag the edges here to adjust the size as well. And then if I have one selected, a delete will get rid of the redaction area. So now that I've got everything redacted like I want, I can save this. So all you need to do is just save. And now while it's still open, you can still continue to edit it. But once I close it, the redactions are permanent. So now if I were to open up this document again, you can see moving the pointer over these areas does not reveal what's there. And I can't do anything to affect these redacted areas. That information's been permanently removed. It's not part of the file anymore. That's why it's pretty important to make a duplicate of this if it's your only copy to PDF. Obviously, if you're producing something, say in Pages or Word, you export as PDF and then you use Preview to redact, you could always go back to the Pages or Word document to create another version of the PDF. But if the PDF is all you've got, like it's a document somebody gave to you, and you don't have the original, then you want to make sure you duplicate it before you start redacting things. Now I want to show you something that demonstrates how the information is really gone, but also can be particularly useful. Let's go and take the original document. I'm going to make another copy of it, and I'm going to open that one up. Now let's say I want to shrink this PDF down. It's too big, and the reason it's probably too big is not this text here. it's probably the image. So what I'm going to do is if I go in and create a shape like a rectangle and just make it a white shape and then blank out this image like that, I would think that now that image isn't there. And sure enough, if I print out, it's not going to be there. It's going to save me a lot of ink. But if I save and then I take a look at the original, I can see the original is 268K. And the copy with that image blanked out is still that size. In fact, it's a little bit larger because I added a box to it. And if I were to open it up, I could see that I could select the box there and get rid of it, and the image is still there. So I haven't really shrunk the file at all. It's not a big deal at 268K, but imagine if this was 500 megs or something, because there are a bunch of images that you really didn't need in it. But redacting actually deletes the data. So let's try that instead. If I use the redaction tool and then I redact this, save, I'll just use Command S there, and then close. Now if I take a look at this document, I could see it's only 66K. It really did get rid of the image and shrink the file. Now if you'd rather not see this black box there, you can actually go into the document again and then go into Markup Tools and then add a white box as a shape, put it over the redacted area like that. I'll save, and now I can look and I can see it's slightly bigger because I added that white box, but it's now a white box. So it looks a little neater and it prints out okay. And it may be useful in that it hides the fact that something has been redacted. So that's how you can redact information from PDFs using just the preview app that's already on your Mac. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Question. He said in the beginning that if you didn't use this redact feature, you just put a black box over something, somebody else could still read it. How would they do that?
Open it up
There are
and delete the black box.
Well, is it? I thought it was permanent once you closed a file.
It's just another image, and if they can delete one image, you can delete the black box and see what's underneath it.
I don't think mine are editable after I've closed them. But I'll look at
So
that.
you must be using the redact tool. If that's what you.
There are
But
other
anyway,
programs
No.
besides Preview, PDF
Well,
editors.
No,
that
I've
can
been
do all
using
kind- They can
Preview.
do anything. There used to be PDF Pen. I don't know if that still exists. Adobe has Acrobat Pro. It can do almost anything with a PDF. Unless
Okay,
somebody's,
So they are still editable after if you close it and reopen
if the
it.
data's in there, there's programs that can read it even though you can't see it.
That used to be a problem earlier where people thought that by putting a black box over it, you actually redacted it. All you were doing is covering it up. And people would just go into edit mode, select that black box and get rid of it, and then the text was underneath. However, if you choose redact in Acrobat now, it obliterates whatever is underneath it. So it's not recoverable.
Well, this was very useful.
Well, I had to do that, and the reason I'm showing this is because I had to do it, and I just wanted other people to know. The thing is, I didn't know how. The first thing I thought of, there is some pencils that if I go into highlight or something like that, get one that's black and just go over it. But that was a whole bunch of work. So I just went to Google and I don't know. I guess I don't know didn't know or still don't know the application. I said, well, how do you redact the document on an Apple in Apple email? And Google told me to put it into what is it that he used?
Preview.
Preview, and within Preview used the redact tool. And I had no idea or was totally oblivious of it at the time that there was a redact tool. I was fumbling around and not doing the correct stuff until I got to use the Redact tool, and just wanted to see that, I mean, that everybody else knew how to get to that. Now, I don't know about Acrobat, but apparently, I mean, they've had it way before, or a long time ago also, so it should be working.
Well, I have a question for Don. I guess Don. So if in Acrobat you have the option to password protect or encrypt a PDF, so it's not editable, but would the text still be visible in the code?
Password
I don't know if
protected
it's
they can't
I
even
don't know if
open
it's,
it.
I don't know if it's visible in the code or not, but I know, I mean, I redact files all the time because I work with stuff that
Sensitive.
is sensitive, and some of it I have to give to people, but I can't give certain things to those people.
Right.
And that's about as far as I can go with it. However, I do frequently redact files. I'll go through and maybe a report that I've got will have someone's social security number on it. I can't send that to anybody else unless I cover that up. So I go through and I redact it. I still have access to all the rest of the text in the file. And anyone can open it unless I put password protection on there, in which case they would not be able to open it without the password. And that's true of just about, like, if I password protect a file, let's say that I do it in Acrobat Pro, and I try to open it in preview, it's still going to ask me for a password. And if I don't give it one, it's not going to open the file.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, I guess. You don't have a right to look at it, you won't be able to look at it.
I want to thank you for bringing this up because I've been doing all kinds of silly ways around it, and then just griping. So thank you.
Not a problem. I was besides myself. I just didn't know what was going on. So how come this is so hard?
Yeah.
Until I said, well, Google's going to tell me, and Google did. So what the heck? So I wanted everyone to know. So okay, next one is still on a PDF, and this is how to sign one. Which I also had to do. So here we go. This is about signing a PDF when you have to do some stuff that's really important. And here's Gary how to tell us how to do that.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you how you can sign PDF documents on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 2,000 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now, when you get a PDF document from somebody, a fairly common thing to have to do with it is to sign it and send it back. You can do that all on your Mac. You don't need to print anything out or scan anything in. For instance, here's a PDF document that I have on my desktop. I'm going to double click it and it should open up by default in the Preview app.
Right.
If it doesn't, you can always control click it, right click it, or two-finger click on it and choose Open With and choose Preview. Now the next thing you may want to do is fill out the form. You can move your pointer over various fields and click and then type. You probably already know that you can do that. But then when it comes time to sign, you may think that the best way to do it is to print out the document, then sign the piece of paper, and then scan it back in using a scanner or your iPhone. But you can actually sign it right here. The way to do that is to use the special signature tool. You can find that in one of two places. One is you can click on the markup tools, and then you'll find the signature tool right here. If you click on it here and you have never done it before, then you need to now add a signature. And you have three ways to do that. One will work if you have a trackpad attached to your Mac. You'll see the trackpad option. Then you can click here to begin, so then you use your trackpad to fill it in. It doesn't work like a regular trackpad then. It works like it's a regular sheet of paper and you can tap anywhere to add to the signature. So I could put a little X right in the middle like that just by using the middle. Now I can just press any key, say the space bar, and you're finished. You could set a description like this is my full name or given name or initials, or you can choose custom. Let's choose full name here and then click done. And now you're going to see the signature appear here in a list. If you wanted to add one of the other ways with the camera option, what you want to do is take a piece of paper and sign your name really large. Use nice thick dark ink, so maybe a marker of some sort. A thin pen or pencil won't work as well. Don't be afraid to make it big. Then use the camera option and you simply hold the piece of paper up to your Mac's camera and it will snapshot it. Another option you may see is iPad or iPhone. And when you use that, it will actually trigger your iPhone or iPad that's nearby with a special window where you can sign using your finger on that device. It's useful to play around with all of these. Try adding all of them. It's easy to remove the signatures. See, I can go right in here and click the X button. So you could try adding a bunch of different signatures and then the one you think came out the best you can keep and remove all the rest. So once you have a signature here, to use it, all you need to do is click on the sign tool, then click the signature you want to use, and it will appear here as a movable box. Then you move it to the signature area. Use the blue dots to resize it. So you'll find that different forms have different size spaces for things. So sometimes you're going to want to shrink it, sometimes you're going to want to enlarge it. You get it to how you like, and then you're done. You can click away and it's there. You can always click back on it and move it around again. Now, if there are multiple places to sign, you can keep going back here and choosing the signature. It'll add another one. And while you have it selected, you can always use the delete key on your keyboard to remove it in case you added one too many. You can also select the one that's there, hold the Option key down and drag to create a copy of it and drag it somewhere else. Or you could simply select it, do Command C for copy, and then Command V to paste another copy of it. This is useful if you have a long document and you want to copy your signature from one page and then paste it on another. One reason to copy and paste or Option drag to make a copy is it'll remember the size if you've resized it on the page. A good reason to create multiple signatures for yourself is that you may want to have one that's your full name and also one that's a set of initials. A lot of forms ask you to initial certain lines as well as fully sign others. Or you may have some situations where you're signed, say, with your middle name and others where you're signed without it. Now, of course, with a form like this, you want to fill it out as you normally would. And sometimes there's a field for the date and you can click in there and then type the date that you signed it. However, sometimes there isn't a field there. That's okay. You can still put the date there. You want to use the markup tools for this and you want to click on a text box. That'll create a text box right here. And then you could type the date like that. And then you could go into the text tool right there. You can decrease its size. You can bold or unbold it. And you can change the color as well. Get it to be what you want. And now move it in place onto the date field there. You can also select and Option drag or copy and paste this if you need to use this elsewhere. This technique is also useful if you find the form doesn't have fields in it. You could just use markup tool text boxes everywhere to fill in a form, even if it's a scan and not a real PDF form made in a Pro app. Now notice here, if I save this document and close it and then open it again, the signature is still there, but I can't select it. Even if I choose markup tools, it won't allow me to select that. However, the markup text boxes like this, that can still be edited. So if you want to make these permanent as well, even going to File and Export won't do it, but you can go to Print and then choose PDF down here, save it, and now when I open up this, the boxes that I've added can't be changed. Now you don't necessarily have to have the document saved to your drive in order to do this. You can do it anywhere that there are markup tools. For instance, here's an email and it has a PDF in it. And what I could do here is I could click the reply button. It'll ask if I want to include the attachment or not. And then I get my reply here, and there's the attachment. Sometimes it'll show you the actual PDF. Other times you'll just see an icon. But in both cases, you see a little button at the top right. It only appears if you move your pointer over it. You can click there and go to markup. And you can see I'm still in the Mail app, but I'm using markup tools in the Mail app instead of markup tools in preview. And the sign button is there. I can click that, and there are my signatures. So I can add the signature, place it where I want, and size it. And I may want to, of course, add the date and fill out the rest of the form. When I click done, that's actually the file that's going to be sent. I can select it here and hit the space bar to quick look to check, and there's the X right there. So now I can send this back, and signatures that you add are also saved to iCloud Keychain. So you should see them on all your other devices where you're using Apple ID and iCloud Keychain, which should be automatic for most people. So on your iPhone, if you have a PDF in the Files app, you can go to Files, you can open it up, and then you've got your markup tools at the bottom, also form filling tools. I'll go to Markup Tools, tap Plus, and then add a signature, and then you'll see your existing signatures there, or you can add and remove another one using the touchscreen on your iPhone, and then it's the same thing. You can go and resize it, you can move it around, and you can use the menu here above to duplicate it or to delete it. And you can use other markup tools like add text to add the date. And you could do this in the Mail app as well. So here I've got an email message, and I can tap and hold the PDF. And one of the options you should see is markup and reply. So now I can mark up the PDF here. And if I use the markup tools here, I've got the same add signature available. But this time when I'm done, I can reply whoever sent it to me, or new message if I want to send it to somebody else. So I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
So there you go with how to put your signatures on everything. And the only people or the only organizations that probably won't take your signature is the IRS and your if you have any savings in some accounts where you have to sign for withdrawals or something like that, they need, at least mine do, they need real signatures. So you can fill the rest or the beginning of it, but the signature's it's gotta be there, done by your hand, and then somehow you have to scan it again and send it that way. That was my experience. Outside of that, the signature that I have works all over the place.
How would they know? How would they know the difference?
I guess ink looks different than something that's printed. So I don't know. I don't. They just right there and then they said we don't want any digital because I guess because digital can be altered or something like that, or how do they know the difference? I don't know. But
Actually,
I always am being told that no, we need a real signature.
It's called wet ink. They want you to sign on a piece of paper with wet ink, and they have original, and that is
okay.
indisputable.
However, there's also a law that was signed by Bill Clinton back in the 90s, basically making digital IDs legal for all purposes. The problem is most people don't have what would be an acceptable digital ID, because you can get them and you can get them to where they load into Acrobat automatically, and you just click a button and it does it. The problem is that the companies that certify these things don't do it for free. However, if you're a subscriber to the Adobe program, you actually get one free digital ID that you don't have to pay for.
So is that different than, say, ID Me?
Yes, it is. Because ID Me is something that you use, like, for example, there's a government database that I have to use at work, and that's how we do it, is through ID.me, which is a pain in my case because I already had an ID.me account that I used to get, because that's what Apple uses to verify that I'm a veteran. And that's completely different because it doesn't involve paper. It's just access to an area on a website. Like in Apple's case, it's to get into their their government store, which has different prices. Otherwise, it's the same.
I think I use ID.me to log into my account on Social Security and maybe also DMV.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Or ID.gov. I believe I use myid.gov or something like that.
Yeah, there's two
To get to
different
my
ones.
Social
They give you a
Security.
choice at two different ones to get into Social Security.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of ways of doing it.
There's
Some
also a government
financial
website called
institu-
FinCEN that uses that.
Some financial institutions use an app called eSign
Yes.
that does a very secure signing of legal documents.
And believe it or not, I had to do that once, and I couldn't believe how close they came to my signature. I mean, it's just like, how did they get that? But anyway, it's I had to do that once. But outside of that, I'm okay. And mine, I created my signature when I got my 2008 MacBook Pro. And I don't remember anymore why I had to use a signature, but I had to. And at that point, I don't know how I found out how to do that, but I did write it down on a piece of paper, held it in front of the camera, and took a picture of it, and that was it. So that's still the signature. Well, okay, the next one, and this is the last video. This is not about PDFs anymore. This is how to find your largest files on your Mac. So Gary's going to show us how to using a couple of lines of code, I believe, with F keys or some shape that to find out what the what your largest files are on your Mac.
In photos, he's talking about
Sp-
photos.
Yeah, this has got to do with photos and find out which ones are the largest. But he says that it well, there's more to it. So let's listen to it. It's a good view, a good video to look at.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Want to find the largest items in your photos library? I'll show you how to do it. So a frustrating thing missing from the Photos app on your Mac is the ability to find the largest items. Sometimes if your drive is getting full, or maybe your iCloud storage, you want to find what's taking up all the space. Maybe you've got some very large videos in your photos library. Maybe you've got a bunch of raw photos that you forgot about. It would be really useful to be able to sort by size, but you can't. If you go into all photos here, you can go to view and there's sort, but you can only sort by date. And there's no way to even use a smart album to do it. You can't do anything here to say find items that are larger than a certain size. Now, if you want to do something really quick, you can, for instance, look under media types and just see your videos. Those are likely your largest items here. You could also look at things like live photos or panoramas or perhaps bursts or even raw photos here to see those. So you can figure some things out, but you can't really get a picture of what are the largest items in your photos library. And to make it even more frustrating, you can actually tell the size of an item. If I select a photo like this and click here to get info, it'll show the size, and I can even go to another item here and I could see the sizes here. So you can see the size. There's just no way to sort or find the largest ones. And I know some people that resort to third-party apps for this or dive down into the package that is the photos library to actually look at the files there. But you can actually just create a very simple shortcut to do this. So I'm going to start here in the Shortcuts app and create a new shortcut. I'm going to call this Find Largest Photos Items. And the first thing I want to add here is something for the Photos app. I'll search for photos. There it is, Find Photos. So I'm going to double click on that and it'll add this. And I want it to find all photos. Next, I'm going to search here for Filter. And I can filter files. Now you may think, well, these are items in the Photos library, not files, but the Filter Files action works on more than just files. So I'm going to double click to add that. And it's going to immediately link to the previous action there, and it's going to try to filter the photos that come out of the first action. But I'm not actually going to filter them at all. I just want access to this sort by. I'm going to sort by size. But wait, there was sort by up here in Find Photos. But if I look at this, there's no size here. I could sort by width and height and date and all sorts of things, but I can't sort by the size of the item. So instead, the first action is just going to get everything. The second action is going to sort by, and guess what? You can sort by file size here. So I can sort by file size. I can do order, biggest, first, and I'm going to limit. I'm not going to return a list of all of my photos. I'm not interested in most of them. I just want to know which ones are the largest. So I'm going to set a limit to 25. So I'm going to find the 25 largest items coming out of my photos library. By the way, if you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MacMost at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. And that's actually going to return a result if I just run it here in Shortcuts. But I can't do too much with that result. I'll run it here. And you could see it works pretty quickly. And the first item in there is a video. If I look at the list here, I can see there's a video, there's a photo, another photo. These are going to be the largest items sorted with the largest first. But I can't do much with them right here. I want to be able to see them in the Photos app so I know what I can maybe archive or get rid of. So I'm going to look for album here. And you can see I can create a photo album. I'm going to double click to add that. And I'm going to create a photo album named Largest Items with the results here. Now, every time you run this, it's going to try to create the same photo album with the same name. So I'm going to do something a little clever here. I'm going to put a space and then parentheses, and I'm going to control click right there and insert a variable, and I'm going to insert the current date. And I'm going to set this to date format short, time format short, and you can see the example here. So it's going to put in parentheses this, which means every time I run this, it will name the album largest items and then with the current date, and then I will put a close parenthesis after it. So that way, if I forget to clear it out, it won't just add these items to the previous one. Now I'm going to run this, and it's not going to take that long to run because it's a sample photos library and it's not that big. But I did run this on my regular photos library with more than 40,000 items, and it took about 10 minutes to run. So this isn't the kind of thing where you can expect instant results. You want to set this up, let it run, go for a coffee break, or come back the next day and expect to find the result. So it's finished now, and you can see it will output the list anyway, but I don't really care about that. I'm going to hide shortcuts and go back to photos. And if I look in photos here and I look under albums, I could see there's the album they created, largest items. And it put the 25 items, 24 photos, one video here in this album. And it named it just like we expected. Now, if I were to select an item here and get info on it, I could see the size. So I could see this is 23.6 megs. The next one is also pretty big, 18.8 megs. It happens to be a RAW photo. You can see that here. The next one is 17.5 megs. It's not a RAW photo, but you can see it's a panorama. So it's a lot of pixels. Matter of fact, 13,000 pixels across. So it did a really good job. As a matter of fact, if you look at the sizes here, that's 17.5, 16.6. If I use the right arrow to go to the next one, 16, I can keep going with the right arrow. And notice that it actually took the sort order and built the album that way. So not only am I getting the 25 largest items, but I can tell what the largest one is and second largest and all of that. I actually get a sorted list here in this album of my largest things. And remember, this is just an album, so it's kind of like a playlist. I haven't added anything at all to my photos library. I just added this album or playlist of items that are already in my library so I could just see them grouped together. So now I could decide what I want to do. For instance, I can select an item here and I could drag it out or do a file and then export the original for it. I can select several of them, like maybe these 3 panos can be saved to some files and not stored in my library anymore. And I could do that with export the unmodified originals. And then once I do, I can delete it. Maybe there's one that I think, well, I don't need it at all. Maybe I don't need this one. If I just press delete to delete it, it will actually just remove it from the album. So it's still in my library. But if I go to image and down to the bottom, you could see I've got delete is remove one photo from album. But command delete or selecting this item here actually deletes the photo. If I select that, now it's actually gone out of my library completely. Well, it's actually here in recently deleted, but it will eventually get out of there, or I can empty recently deleted later on. Now you can modify this to only look at certain types of items. So I can add a filter here and I could say I want the media type is, and I could set it to an image or video. So if I only want to see the largest images, I could select this and now my results will only be images. This video won't be included. Or if I know that the videos are going to be the big ones and it's what I want to get rid of, I could switch to video and now I could see the 25 largest videos and get them in size order so I could deal with them. Or if you want, you could do something like date taken and have it be, say, 3 years. So if you've got a lot of recent items that you may want to deal with, but you know anything older than 3 years is going to be fine, then you could do it this way. This will reduce the number of photos that come in from the first action, making it easier for the second action to sort them. And your results then won't necessarily be the largest items, but be the largest items from the last 3 years. So there's a lot here that you can do to further customize this. And note, you don't have to add this as a pinned in menu bar or as a quick action or in the services menu or anything like that. This is a good shortcut to just have in your shortcuts app and then just run it from here when you need it. So if you want to find the largest items in your photos library, I hope this helps you out. And in addition to that, I hope you learn a few shortcut skills. Thanks for watching.
So those are my videos, and there is a tool that he built for us that we can use to find out which of those photo files are humongous.
It's too bad there isn't. What they really would be nice if there was a smart album where you built it once and on the fly it would just always show you your biggest ones, and then you delete them, you go back, and every time you go look, it's automatic. But that's not obviously not in smart albums.
Maybe with Automator.
So anybody else?
Yeah, I missed the beginning of the one about signatures. This is a dumb question, but where online do I find the URLs or the name of it?
In the chat when the meeting started, there was a link to the videos.
The name
PDF
of
file with links.
Right. The name of it is Signing PDF Documents on Your Mac.
I'm not seeing it in chat. I'm signing PDF documents.
Yes.
The links are in the links are in the chat at the beginning of the meeting, or if you came in late, then you won't see them. You can get on the VBS.
Well, I wasn't late, but they're not there now. Okay, so where on the BBS do I find them?
If you go there now, it's in the today's meeting.
Where it says DVMUG meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Jan, do you not see the 2 files that say DVMUG, Zoom Meet, and then you don't see the rest of the title? One is 5 kilobytes, the other is 2 kilobytes.
It should be at the top of the chat.
Yeah, it should be at the top of the chat.
I see attachments. Oh, the top of the chat. Oh, we're back on chat. No, wait. Let's see. Zoom
In fact, there's only
chat.
3 things in the chat. Those 2 and then Kenji's link. There's not much in
Right.
there.
If you come in after it's posted,
Right.
you don't see them.
Well, I was here 5 minutes before 3, so.
Well, I didn't post them until 3:02. The meeting was
Well,
already
then they
running
should
at
be
that
here.
point. Do you see Kenji's link? You
Not in
see any? There's
chat.
only 3 things in the chat. Now there's 4.
I can see.
So I just reposted the
Oh,
video list.
thank you. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
So maybe you lost your Zoom connection, had to reconnect it.
Oh, I know why, because I couldn't hear it. I got off and got
No.
and signed in again.
That's why.
That's where it went.
So
couldn't see it either.
it's obviously not specific to photos files, but I have this old program which is still being updated called Grand Perspective that shows you a graphical representation of all the files on your on your entire drive
Device.
or in folders.
Right.
And I see you can buy it for $2.99 in the App Store, but he also has it. He also offers it for free on what is it called? Source or something for Code Forge or something like that. So it's a free app basically, and it looks like this. Oh, are you done screen sharing, Bruce?
That's the end of the videos.
Or did you have
We
more?
done comments? We can stop the recording, or
Okay.
you can stop the screen share, or you got something else to say before we switch recordings about the.
I just wanted to show. So, whoops, I don't see it here. Weird. Okay.
I don't think grand perspective would be that helpful for finding the largest files in your photos when there's 40,000 of them and they're like megabytes in size, and it's like it's your whole drive. It shows you.
Maybe not.
There's another one called Daisy Disk.
Here. Like this is what my documents folder looks like in Grand Perspective. And immediately what I see is, so this one here, I don't know if you can see down at the bottom here, it shows you what file that is. So this is my Windows 10 machine, which I don't use anymore, occupying that much of my documents folder. This is a Parallels Desktop, which is an obsolete version that doesn't run under on an M Mac. So why do I still have those there? So almost instantly you can see your biggest files just by clicking on the biggest boxes and see what they are. Anyway.
That's not going to help you with photos.
Maybe not. It was just that
40,000 photos, and you're talking about several megabytes. There'll be teeny tiny little bunch, like all in the yellow here. Yeah. I guess you could point it at your photos library, and maybe that would. Before you got 40,000. Okay, so any more questions about the videos or the meeting, and we'll switch to general Q&A. Anybody? Last call? Okay, we'll end the recording, and anybody watching DVMUG members on YouTube, you can get the next section of the general Q&A with a link on the BBS. So we'll see you there.